Well, it's been a busy time on the farm here. Calves born here, but I've always got time for whistle watch, so let's get into it. Well, welcome back. Plenty of cards to discuss this week. Well, it's nearly Christmas. Including Beauden Barrett's one in Twickenham between England and New Zealand. I'll also be answering your Emirates fans questions, of course. And congratulations to everybody involved and who the winners, the runners-up, and everybody who was nominated for the World Rugby Awards in Monaco. But I'll be giving you my alternative awards, the Nigel Awards, here from the farm in Beauden. But before then, let's get straight into Whistle Watch. Well, let's start at HQ then. England against New Zealand. Great game. New Zealand up 25 points to 6 at the time when Marcus Smith cuts through, and then Beauden Barrett makes a tackle, gets to his feet, but he never releases the player. You have to show a clear release before you go back to try and regather the ball. Because there's no clear release here, then the referee gives a very, very good yellow card for an offence, which some have asked, or Owen Farrell was asking as well, why wasn't it a penalty try? Well, the reason why it wasn't a penalty try was because there was too many defenders there. So what the referee needs to think of, if Beauden Barrett hadn't done that illegal action, would England have probably scored? That's the key thing. Not possibly, not definitely, probably. And looking at the defenders there, you couldn't say that England were probably going to score. So the correct decision, yellow card, but no penalty try. Now, I certainly haven't got time to go through all the cards in the Scotland-Argentina game up in Murrayfield. 1 red and 5 yellow cards. But let's have a look at a couple of them. Let's start with the red one, where Marcos Kramer got red carded. So what you have here is a player coming from depth, from a distance, at speed, and direct contact to the head. High degree of danger. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, why are you discussing this every week? How many times over the last few weeks have we discussed this type of action, which results in a red card? So a very, very good, correct red card by the referee. The question I'll be asking, why are the players still doing this? They need to change their behaviour. Now, in that game, there's a lot of stuff going on. As we mentioned, a lot of cards, things boiling over, a lot of pushing and throwing, players getting involved, everybody coming in. That happened to me once down in the game in Parc Scarlets between the Scarlets and Leinster a few years ago, when I had enough. And I called everybody in and I told them all, any more nonsense like this, and people will be going. If you're going to behave like children, you'll be treated like children. After the referee had given a warning and had enough, 2 players going on, still going on about it, and then they were given yellow cards. It's not a very nice look for the game when everybody comes in like that and has a go. Congratulations to Portugal. After that draw game against the USA, it meant that they topped the pool and they qualified for the World Cup. So congratulations to them. I bet they're all excited and looking forward to it already. But we saw an incredible piece of skill in that game as well, with the fullback, Nuno Sosa Guedes, backheeled the ball to a teammate. Now, some have been asking, why was this not an offside? Because when he actually kicked the ball or backheeled it, the player who caught the ball was actually in front of him. But the key thing here is, by the time the player actually got the ball, he had retreated behind the player who kicked the ball, so who last played the ball. And that is the key thing here. If you're in front of a teammate who last played the ball, you are not put onside on where the ball is. You are put onside by getting behind the teammate who last played the ball, or a teammate who was onside when the other player played the ball. So in this instance, when he kicks the ball, the player coming back, by the time he catches the ball, he is behind the player who kicked it, and therefore it's play on and a good decision. Okay, I think I'm ready for some of your Emirates fans questions. Let's get into them. Right then, let's start. And we'll start with Jelly H. Andrews Robert. How can I ask questions? Well, you just have. No, you can get in touch by on Twitter, social media, look at the comments, hashtag in WhistleWatch, and then we'll pick your question up and we will gladly answer it for you. Tony P asks, Richie McCaw was often accused of playing too close to the margins of the rules and getting away with it. Do you think certain high-profile players get away with more during a game? No, I certainly don't. What I think you'll find is that the high-profile players become high-profile players because they are the best players in the world. And if you're the best player in the world, like Richie McCaw was, you know where those lines are. You know how far you can push and how far you can go with the referee. So remember Man United under Alex Ferguson when they were so successful? Everybody was saying, oh, Man United are getting away because of Man United. No, it's because you were so good at it, people then find a reason to try and knock you down. So McCaw was very, very good at what he's doing. Yes, he pushed the limits, but he knew when that line wasn't to be crossed, and that's why it didn't result in a lot of yellow cards for him. Rob Fallon, hi Nigel, my best friend Hamhead. Hamhead, what a nickname. Is it a nickname or is it a name? Who has a rule is a bit of an idiot, but has had one rugby refereeing idea I think is brilliant. Every team should be allowed a single forward pass per match. Oh, I don't think that's a very good idea, Hamed. No, Rob Fallon, tell him no. Forward pass is a forward pass. End of. Chris Bullen. When players kick for touch, they now start their run up from a mark, gain 5 or more yards rather than kicking through the mark. It's unfair. Players also seem to be moving, walking around when a kick or goal is taking place. It isn't fair, unsportsmanlike. Chris from Pontevedra. You're from Pontevedra, Chris? Oh, well now then. I haven't seen you about it, have I? You're quite right. It is something that is creeping into the game. Players are quite clever. They will try and gain 5 metres or so to kick at the posts. They'll also as well then, as you said to say, they start their run up and sometimes they'll have gained 8, 9, 10 yards before they actually kick the ball to touch. So it's something the referees need to be aware of and are aware of, and sometimes that's when the TMO can help. You can tell the referee, hey, the player has moved on 5 metres, and the referee can address the issue, because you're quite right, it is gaining an unfair advantage. And it's an easy one to sort out as well. Well, there you are. Thanks for all your questions. Some very interesting questions this week as well. And keep them coming in as well, because we'll be back for one more next week. Now then, over in Monaco, the World Rugby Awards were being handed out. And you know what? I wasn't too far off with my predictions, was I? But now, it's time to hand out the first ever, the Nigels. Well, let's get started then. Our first award is for the celebration of the year, and the nominees are Italy when they beat Wales in the Six Nations in Cardiff. Well, we'll skip over that one. The Black Ferns when they took the World Cup glory. Portugal qualified for the World Cup of the weekend. Or Chile when they beat the USA to qualify for the World Cup. Ooh, tough one here, some great celebrations, but I think the winner are Portugal. Incredible scenes there from the weekend. A mention for Georgia as well, some celebrations there on beating Wales for the first time ever in Cardiff. I'm not happy about it, but congratulations. Next up, we have the match of the year. Now then, some interesting ones here, the nominees, some great games here. The nominations are France 30, Ireland 24 in the Six Nations. Australia 37, New Zealand 39. Their clash in the Rugby Championship. Great game that was. And then New Zealand 25, France 24 in that incredible Women's Rugby World Cup semi-final. New Zealand 34, England 31 in the Women's World Cup final. A lot of great matches there, I have to say. But because of the pressures of the final, and a great game it was, I am going to go for New Zealand, England in the World Cup final. A match that had absolutely everything. And finally, it's time for the Rugby Family of the Year. And I'm not counting you, my Whistle Watch family. The nominees are the Rugby Family of the Year, the Barretts, consistently performing for the All Blacks. The Levis, Sister Madison and Tegan Levi, who have been on fire for Australia's Sems. The Farrells, Andy guiding Ireland to World Cup #1, and Owen earning a well-deserved 100th cap as well. The Islands, Mike Ireland and his 7 sons, who made up the pack for Heaton Moore thirds. And I think this one is quite an easy one to choose. It's the Islands, the whole pack. Well done to you. What a true rugby family. And there we have it. That is our first and possibly last editions of the Nigels. Here, not from Monaco, but in Pontevedra. Congratulations to you all. Well, that's it for Whistle Watch this week. I'll be back next week for the final episode in the series, so I'll see you then, but now I've got work to do, so off you go.